Chats, where we talk about whatever you want and you have chosen. There's actually a Thai this time um, who was in our WhatsApp community, gave most of our suggestions, although some of them came from our Facebook group messenger chat. Um, and the options that were tied were how to basically stop overthinking when you're obsessing about something. How can you get that to stop? Which is a really great topic, and we may do that one next week. We come around here every Tuesday. Today it's Wednesday because we had yoga on Tuesday, and self-care is important. So we come around every Tuesday on 8 o'clock to discuss whatever it is that excites you. I'm Kat Rambo, your medicine woman, and I love all topics related to personal growth, development, and magic, and helping you discover your own inner magic. Holly, hey, can you make another rosette tutorial? Yes, I would love to do that. I'm currently traveling. I'm right now in the northern cusp of Patagonia, Chile, which means that probably won't happen for the next couple of months before I go back to the US and I have all of my fun beading toys, but I would absolutely love to do that. That sounds amazing. Thank you for asking. I'm glad you like that. That would be super fun. I love craft projects. I'm actually going to be making a ceremony fan soon. Um, I've been trying to contact you about it. Did I not respond to a comment on the video? You made such a beautiful video. Oh, thanks. That was an old video with old equipment. So I'm really happy you liked it. I'd love to go back around with better equipment now that we know what we're doing a little bit more with the video making situation. I followed you on TikTok. Oh, perfect. Yeah, TikTok. I would like to get back to doing a little bit more with the TikTok. I used to go there every day, and now it's been averaging 3 times a week or so. So it's okay. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, and I would like to start doing lives on TikTok, but I want to do them a little bit differently than the lives we do here on YouTube. So, Miss Holly, would you maybe like to let me know what kind of thing you like on TikTok? Maybe rosettes and craft tutorials. That would be super fun. Ceremony fan is what's I think going to be next. I've never seen it that before. I can't find any more tutorials on it. Yeah, it's very much a practice that's passed down. So because it's a traditional pattern, traditional practice. So I've noticed that you kind of just have to know someone who knows how to do it. But that's why I wanted to share. Um, 20 centimeters. I'm not sure what you're asking me, Joseph. So I'm excited that you like that, and I would love to go back around and do that. Thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate that. So what else you got for me? So the other topic. The topic that's our topic today is intuition. Namer and Andres Espino Romero said hi. Oh, hello. Thank you so much for passing it to me. Yeah, sweetheart. I believe that the joy and passion of creation should be passed forward to everyone, and that's not something that should be a secret, especially when it can create so much beauty in the world. And I'm so grateful that you love that. That makes me happy. Yay. Totally worth all of the finagling and a little bit of frustration that learning how to use the camera made it worth it. I'm so glad that you liked it. Thank you for sharing that with me. It really made my day. So today's topic is going to be about intuition, right? Intuition. And I love this topic. A lot of clients come into my practice, both in my ceremonial medicine work and also in my coaching practice, to learn how to open their intuition. And I love this because it's not a gift. And I think calling it a gift is really like a gatekeeping by the psychic community. Ashley Kopatuk, hey y'all. Hey, good to see you. You're gonna like this topic. It's all about intuition. And I think we misunderstand that it's not really a gift. And I think the psychic community likes to say it's a gift because then it makes it feel like they have it and you don't. But that's not true. We can all expand in this capacity. Some of us are naturally better at it than others. Some of us have to work at it more, but all of us can refine and expand this gift, talent, skill, natural capacity that we all have. And yes, you too, wherever you are, you also are psychic. You may just not know it. We can call it intuitive. We can call it subconscious because your subconscious mind has stored a tremendous amount of information. You can call it being plugged into cosmic themes. Jose said hi. Hi, Jose. But whether you like that it's connected to cosmic collective intelligence, or whether it is accessing non-linearity of time, whether it is plugging into the quantum matrix, whether it's navigating alternative dimensions of possibility and making decisions based on information coming in. It doesn't. Maybe it's information from angels or ancestors. To me, it is however it is that it comes into you and whatever it's coming from. It is there. And I believe it does have many forms. Sometimes we receive messages. And I'll even tell you a personal story that happened to me recently that was very fun. It happened yesterday. That can express what that looks like and how alignment can happen that way. So I'll tell you a personal story too, because I've been asked for them, but I rarely give them. It can also look like messages, right, from externally, but it can also look like internal information, and it can also look like the reticular activating system selecting patterns for you to focus on. Whatever it is that you like for it. It may be coming from different places. Maybe it's a gut feeling. What does that mean? Do your guts really have brains? Of course they do. Actually, lots of neurons in your stomach and intestines. So there are lots of ways. What we're going to talk about is, since we've covered where may your intuition be coming from, maybe it's angel guides, maybe it's God, maybe it's the quantum field, whatever it is that you like. Maybe it's ancestors, maybe it's yourself in another dimension. Maybe it's just information that you're processing, right? Which is great that you're getting access to. We all can do it. So now that we know that there are many places for it to come from, how do we access it? Emma, means you got to go to the bathroom. Kidding. Well, sometimes that is really good information. Better to find out too early than too late, huh? Hey, wherever the information comes from, it's great. Vitali, I love you. I love you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. So how do we know that we all have this intuition? How do we have the holy shits? That's right, Ashley, the holy shits. That's right. Great place to take a little personal prayer. Absolutely. I'm glad you remembered that. That's funny. So we all know that we do have access to this information because we all have one point or another known who was calling before the phone rang. Or we were thinking about someone and suddenly they sent us a message. Or somehow we just knew what was going on with somebody before they even said anything. Or a parent will just know what their kid is up to. Why do moms have eyes in the back of their head? They just know. Why do they just know? How does a mother always instinctively seem to know when their child is in great danger? Like, what is that? How is it that best friends know what's going on in each other's lives even when they're not even near each other and they haven't spoken about what's happening? What is all of that? How is it that you can have a dream that then shows up later in your life? Like, what is that? All of that is wonderful intuition coming in different forms. So we all have this natural capacity. We all can make educated guesses. We all can receive information. We all can explore this idea of just knowing things, and we can expand and refine, which is wonderful. It's like a cheat code for life. Why would you not, right? Super fun. Be careful sometimes what you wish for. Sometimes opening up these skills really fast can bring in a lot of information you may not yet be prepared for, and it's sort of like suddenly walking to a really loud nightclub. Sometimes it's just way too much and you got to tone it down, right? This is why working with someone like myself, like a coach one-on-one on this type of topics is really helpful because it can help, temper what's going on for you, right? So like I said, intuition can seem like information from many different kinds of sources. So where does information, how does it come through? How do we know where it's coming from, right? We can receive spontaneous intuitions. For example, oh my gosh, I had a dream that this thing was going to happen and I need to take a lighter flight. Right. Okay. Or I need to not go on that trip. Right. Okay. Cool. I have to go for now. Thanks so much. Holly, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. I appreciate you. Sometimes it looks like being intentional about it. So for example, we will check in with ourselves and say, how do I make this decision in the best possible way for myself? How do I access a bigger version of my awareness so that I can make a clearer choice, right? Knowing more, having access to the bigger outcome and knowing what I really want and what my intention is. How do I make a choice that is more in alignment when I may not have all the right information? So we can do this spontaneously, and we can do this intentionally. And I'm going to teach you some tricks on how to get very intentional and expand your intuition. So hang with me. Let's talk about spontaneous information. So how do we receive these messages? Sometimes it's through dreams. Sometimes it's through sudden knowings. It's called claircognizance, right? Sometimes we see things. Sometimes we hear information. Sometimes we'll smell something. Sometimes a random taste will come into our mouth and we'll just know things about it. So there's all different kinds of ways. Most commonly is the gut feeling. But if you feel like your intuition is broken because you're not having gut feelings, that's not the case that it's broken. It's that your intuition may be coming in a different way. I thought for a long time that something was wrong and my intuition was broken, because I would have dreams galore about all kinds of things. In fact, to the annoyance of the people around me, because I would tell them what they were about to tell me and they would say, that's not possible. Like, that really takes the fun out of me telling you things. I'm like, oh, sorry, I really thought you already had. I forgot to differentiate like dream conversation from real life. But, a waking life anyway. But I was like, well, I can't just like make my choices intuitively. I don't have like a gut feeling about anything. What is that? Well, that wasn't really true. I didn't know how to listen to the way my intuition was communicating with me. Then, when I did learn, I expanded dramatically and very quickly, because I wasn't limiting myself, right? So sometimes we limit ourselves. Sometimes we really want a different capacity, but we have to understand why that capacity may not be our natural capacity and how we can then expand in it, right? We may not be born a painter, but if we love art, we can absolutely learn to love to paint and make something really beautiful and unique. And it doesn't matter if it's right or correct or technically right. It just matters if we're enjoying ourselves, if we're having a really good time, and we're producing something beautiful, which is the life of your dreams, of course. So how do we expand in that? And if there are different ways of receiving psychic information or intuitions, how do we cause that to happen? Well, because you can receive information in any of your senses, right? And even claircognizance may be conceptual, or maybe it sound like words, maybe it doesn't, sometimes it's extremely clear, and sometimes it's more like a subtle conceptual sense, not really clear at all. And we got to learn how to refine that and expand on it so we can actually cause more clarity to happen. So how do we cause intuition, right? And remember, we may be limiting ourselves. When I first started working with the medicine work, with the visionary medicines, I thought something was broken because I didn't often have a lot of visions. And a lot of times, even in the work, how is it that I could learn to step into someone else's visions, which is what an excellent visionary medicine practitioner can do, if I can't even see my own? How am I going to see somebody else's, right? Doesn't make any sense. But I eventually said, okay, I'm going to continue to work on that and learn it. I'm going to study how to see auras. I'm going to, and I can teach you that now. Actually, it's nice and easy. I can learn like subtler cues, because I had been doing energy work for a long time and I was quite good at it. And I knew that because I was getting really cool feedback from like energy photography and stuff like this. Aura photos and things like this. And so I knew, and like other practitioners and things that would spontaneously say to my clients, you had an alignment recently. That looks really good. Like, oh, really? Okay. And my clients would call me and tell me this. So I was getting the affirmation, but I never really like saw it in the way that I imagined others might be. So I thought something was missing, right? And especially when it came to working with the visionary medicines, this is very vulnerable and personal. It gave me a lot of insecurity, right? Because I thought, how can I possibly see someone else's vision if I can't see my own? What am I going to do? But I would just allow the process to unfold in my study. I've been so interested in auras. You, dear one, will be very good at that because you have a really good sense for specific types of energy. We can work on that for sure. We can do that in this talk, which that would be very exciting, right? So I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to learn. So I thought, well, let me just start small and see if I can grow in this sense. But how is it that I can do my work well? And I would allow the medicine to move through me. I knew what the process was about. I was already working in healing work before, so I brought in everything that I knew about that and channeled the spirit of the medicine and let it work through me. But it never came in the way that I expected it to, which is like a voice or and sometimes, but not usually, or a vision, and sometimes, but not usually. So how could I do that? But nonetheless, I started sort of testing myself, right? And I would write down after a ceremony what I was thinking everyone was going through. And I would act according to how I felt moved, right? But it's not like I would receive, why would you do that? I don't know. Just because that's what was needed. That's how I knew. Eventually, over time, obviously, all of this expanded and became much richer just with practice. But then I would compare it to the following day's integration when everyone in the ceremonial space would be sharing their visionary experiences. I would compare it to what I thought that they were going through, and I was often spot on. So how is it that I knew without being able to see it? So a lot of times we think when we see things, we should see it like this in front of us, right? This is a jar of locos, which is a type of abalone that I was pickled. But actually, it's not. It is vitamin C. Vitamin C water with a little bit of chicha. Sort of like an apple kombucha pooch situation. So I would expect to see it like this in front of me. Like, okay, this is the way we see things. But not really. How do you see a memory? Well, you close your eyes and you sort of see it in your mind's eye, right? Can you simultaneously focus on the image inside your head and the image outside of your head? And if you can, you will much more quickly be able to access much bigger amounts of information in this mind's eye, this internal vision. We think of the third eye as looking outward at the world, but it doesn't. It faces inward, right? So if we can learn to exercise that aspect of our mind, that visionary aspect, then actually it's much simpler because you don't become disoriented by what's real and what's not. You know what's inside of you and what is outside of you and what type of information is coming from where. It's much cleaner, right? Much safer, much nicer, much less unnerving, right? To be able to see spirits and things like this, but not have to see them in front of you as though tangible. You can see them internally in a way that provides significantly more information, because a picture may be worth 1,000 words, but it is not everything. I learned this in my journey. And I was told a couple of times by different types of practitioners, you're not naturally visionary, but you are a visionary. How is that the case? Like, you have inspirations and visions constantly. You're big into, like, you're constantly with the dreaming. And you're really skilled at interpreting and seeing other people's visions, but you don't really see them. How is that? How do you do that? You have to, I don't know how you work. How do you work this way? Because I have discovered when I let go of needing it to be a certain way, the way I naturally am was allowed to expand. And I explored what my natural capacity was and built up other faculties as well, right? If we naturally have great legs, we got to do extra shoulder presses to pump up our arms, right, in the gym. But that doesn't mean we should ignore leg day either. Never skip leg day. But we should also, be doing other types of exercises to help build up all of our faculties to have better balance and to enrich that practice. So I found out that I'm an extremely conceptual person, which means seeing a picture would have almost been distracting and more limiting, because I can receive all kinds of information that is more than just a picture. Sorry I get kicked off somehow. I'm here. I'm here too. I'm glad you're here. It's very nice to see you here. So by getting frustrated about not receiving information a certain type of way, you may be limiting the infinite richness that is available to you in your natural capacity, because your natural intuitive capacity is an aspect of your personality, which means it will be coming through the way that you are. And as it turns out, I'm a very conceptual person. So now, by accepting that about myself, my readings expanded dramatically. I switched to a different method that suited my natural way of being more. I'm a very conceptual person. I'm very philosophical and ideological, and I'm an idealist, right? So I love inspiration and themes and paradox and these ideas, right? So for me, being able to explore that freely without restricting it by saying that's not good enough because I want it this other way that someone else is doing it, was actually very limiting. And now with what now has developed into, yes, a visionary skill, I receive so much more information than just a picture. So I can look at someone's aura and say, sorry about that breakup when you were 17, but don't worry, your father on the other side is really proud of you, and he says this. How does all that information come in with a picture? It doesn't. It comes in from so much more. So you can cultivate this skill, right? And part of it is just being confident in yourself. So we finally got to the part where, how do we cultivate this skill? First step is just acknowledgement. Acknowledge, yes, I do have an intuitive superpower sense, and it is mine exactly the way that it is perfect. It's an aspect of who I am. It's natural organic equipment that I came into the world with. It's my birthright, and now it's time for me to finally say yes to it. Subtle senses are not celebrated in our culture, but that is changing, and that doesn't mean you can't celebrate them in your life. So what I really recommend, and anyone who's ever worked with me is going to hear this 10,000 more times too, must celebrate. When you celebrate whenever it happens, or whenever you think it may be happening, or whenever you think about it, it's going to cause your subconscious space to say, oh, we like that. Oh, maybe it's not stupid, like my parents said. Maybe it's not crazy, like my peers said. Maybe it's not scary, like those movies said. Maybe it's natural, exciting, and fun, and like a cheat code for life. So celebrate it, and you will naturally call it out. Your subconscious mind is like a small child. And if a small child brings you their artworks and you say, well, that's dumb, what even is that? Do you think they're going to continue to bring their artworks to you? Or if you say, oh my gosh, it's beautiful, I love it, let's hang it on the fridge, and they're like, it's upside down, of course it is, so sorry, like, it's great, I love it. You're going to get 10,000 more artworks, your whole house is going to be wallpapered in ridiculous crayon artworks, right? But what happens? The child practices art and becomes an artist, right? And they get to live in authentic expression, which is beautiful. So I want that for you too. So how do we call up this sometimes dormant aspect of ourselves, or how do we cultivate a more diverse sense of how that information is coming in, or how do we expand, right, our natural capacities, or maybe unlock something, which is great. So we have a lot of tools. First step is just acknowledgement, and experiment. Be open to experimenting, and when information does come in, do your best to try and find out if it's valid information. Right? Sometimes we receive information we don't know if it's valid information, and this is where we're going to get to the part: how do I know if it's paranoia or if it's premonition? Right? You have to just experiment. You have to play with it and find out. Right? Sometimes it's not possible, sometimes it is, but you got to just find out. I don't know if I'm good at energy work. Okay, well, I'm going to work on a client, and then I'm going to send them for an aura photograph. See if their aura changed. Get a before and after picture of their energy and see if my work did anything for them. Cool, let's do that. Or a client will come to me, get some work done, and then go to another healer and see what that healer says about them. Oh, well, the healer says, you did examples of experiments. Yeah, exactly. The healer says that my chakras are all aligned and they don't know why I'm here. Okay, well, there's something there then. Maybe it worked, See how you feel working on yourself, right? Do you feel like your rivers are flowing, when you're working on yourself? Here is a story that I promised you at the beginning. Last night I was at yoga. I did tell you I was going to a yoga class, self-care, right? And I freaking love this yoga teacher. She has been a dream. Her voice is so relaxing. Her space is so beautiful that she holds. And it's always a really gentle but powerful class. And I love it. I've been a few times now and I love it. I love it. It's such a rich part of my life right now. And it's been really wonderful for so many reasons. So partway through the class, I got this sudden and immediate inspiration. And it came from my medicine campo, right? Campo speaks to me very clearly these days. But again, that's a relationship that I have honed for a long time, okay? Yes, it was immediately intense, but also I managed that, right? Any relationship you attend to is going to grow. Any plant you water will sprout, right? So any friendship you continue to interact with will deepen. So this immediate inspiration came in, and it said, because I was just sitting there thinking, I'm just so grateful for this class. I should tell her. I should send her a message after class, and I should tell her how meaningful her class has been for me. Because as a practitioner, we all love to hear a little affirmation, and I just feel like she needed to hear that. And I feel like I needed to tell her. So I was like, I'm going to tell her after class. And then in came the inspiration. It was so hard and so fast and so clear. And it said, without any equivocation or confusion or misinterpretation, you are going to offer her combo as a gift for free. You need to do that. And I thought, that's very weird. I've never talked about this with any woman, like this person, like, how am I going to follow through with that? You know what I mean? But I serve medicine, which doesn't mean I give medicine to people, which it does. What it also means is that my job is to care for the spirits of these medicines, which means when they give me instructions, I have to follow them. I've agreed to this. But this is part of intuition. Why do they speak to me this way? Because I agreed to follow the inspiration that I've been given. And when you say yes and just follow those intuitions, you may be surprised where they lead you, even when they don't make sense. So that's one of those experiments you can be with. Just follow it, see what happens, Worst case scenario, nothing happens and it was weird. Okay, whatever. Life's weird anyway. Have a good time. It's not that serious. But what if your intuition is just waiting for you to say yes? Why is it going to continue to give instructions if you just keep ignoring it? But if you keep following the instructions, that information will get excited and give you more instructions, right? And you'll naturally just start following those impulses. But you have to kind of work at it a little bit. It doesn't always happen overnight, Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but usually not. I mean, ceremonial work sometimes, yes. But not usually. So I went up after this class, this woman, to pay her, of course. And I told her, I said, I can't explain to you how grateful I am for your class. I love the space that you hold. And I was watching you teaching, and I was watching you teaching a breathing exercise, and I was watching the way you were moving your energy. And it was very beautiful to watch. So thank you for sharing your practice with us. I think it's really wonderful the way that you do your work and what you share, but also the way you work through your own practice in the front of the room. I think that was really stellar. And she was just like, her eyes got really big, taken aback. Really? Oh my goodness, you noticed? I was like, yeah, I see that. She says, I found the class on Instagram. So Miss Annie Christina, Frog. Yeah, well, that's who was speaking. So I said to her all of this, and she responded. And we had some speaking on Instagram, and she saw my handle, which is Cat Rambo Medicine Woman, which is my handle for all of my media. And of course, all of this is going on in Spanish. So she said, te vi tu nombre por Instagram y ¿qué significa eso, mujer de medicina, medicine woman? And of course I said, yes, that is what it says, medicine woman. Okay, ¿qué tipo de medicina es eso? No entiendo. Explíqueme. And so I explained to her, I work with herbs and ayahuasca and cambo and energy and, like this. I'm a curandera. I'm a healer. And her eyes got really big, and she says, Cambo, that's the frog thing. Well, this is not very familiar or common medicine here where I am. So I was actually really surprised that she didn't get excited about the word ayahuasca like everyone does and went straight to the Cambo. And she said, I have been having so many emotions. I've been thinking about Cambo so much. And I feel so scared, but so excited every time I think about it. And I've been looking up online, and I never knew where I could find it, but I just feel like it would be so good for me. I'm so curious, but also nervous and scared. And I can't believe you're saying that's what you do. And I said, I have to tell you the strangest story. I was going to send you a message after class to tell you how much I appreciate your class. And I do not offer medicine without someone asking me for it first. I find that to be pushy and weird and inappropriate. I don't do it. When the need is there, when the want is there, the medicine will occur. I don't work that way, right? I don't like promote a lot, none of that. Ashley, it was meant to be. Exactly. And I said, it's very strange, but I was going to send you a message saying, as a gift, as a thank you, I've been told to offer you this medicine as a gift. And I am so glad you brought it up first, because that makes it less weird. Because it's weird, right? And she just was thrilled and enthralled. She says, I can't believe you're saying this. I've been thinking about it so much. So my agreement to follow the impulse that I was given was met with the affirmation, right? The affirmation was actually preceded my even following through on acting on it, even though I had already decided to do so. Of course, I must. And so this is, and now I formed this really interesting and strangely aligned relationship with this wonderful yoga teacher, phenomenal human being in this town where I live, which is phenomenal. So when you follow that information and inspiration, it will grow and it'll lead you places. And sometimes you got to just go on a limb and do the weird thing and say the weird thing, and it may lead you to someplace really exciting. So there are lots of tools, not just experimenting, but then, stretch out a little bit. So I have some here. We have pendulums, we have tarot cards, we have yes/no coins like this, right? Where we can ask, what's going on with us. So lots of people like cards. I love doing card readings. These are super conceptual. They totally fit my vibe. Do I use the regular Rider-Waite tarot? Absolutely love it too. But these have just been so fun because they're a lot more conceptual, and I can get a lot deeper with a method that for me is more natural and organic, right? I also super love and have a heritage, blood heritage with things like throwing bones. So I have like a half a little bones kit here. And I've been really enjoying these witch runes that I've been using. They have a variety of symbols that are not the regular like Elder Futhark, runes. These are different. So there's 13 of them. I've been really enjoying that. And the idea is you think of something and remember that these are intuition tools, which means it's not about deciding what the future will be. There is no one future. It's about experimenting with your own inner knowing, and use the tool to help you express yourself in a way where you can reflect back information. So this is something I've been experimenting with a lot more, which is an obsidian mirror. Oh, look, you can see me, seeing you, seeing me, seeing you. It's like catception. So I've been using this. It's got fingerprints all over. It makes it easier to see, right? I've been using this obsidian mirror recently, which has been really exciting. I really loved that because I like crystal balls and shit like that too. But these tools help you not only glean information, but they help you experiment with confidence. So even with the doing dream intuition work, so I will, what I love to teach is not just these tools. I can teach anyone to throw bones or read the tarot. I have an hour and a half fast framework that I do in a single session. I can have you reading the tarot. But it's not just about reading the cards. It's about helping the cards see your own insight. And so the method that I use isn't about memorizing the cards. That's why you can learn it in an hour and a half. I've always heard those called scrying mirrors. Yes, they are. You're right, Ashley. That's right. Yeah, scrying mirror. Um, and I've used every third kind of tool out there. I mean, I can read a broken egg in a glass of water. You know what I mean? But that's because it was fun and interesting and exciting. I was curious, and so I like to explore. Um, when I give Kambo, I do an intuitive reading on the puke in the bucket. Which sounds gross and weird, but I love it just because it's so strange. It's fun. I like strange. Dreams are strange too, you know. How do you cause information in certain dreams? There's actually a lot of ways to do that, and dream work and dream magic and ritual work is actually really common in some places, and considered equally a part of the waking life. And that's like the portal to talk to your ancestors, so and angels and whatever else you're into. So I love using dreams and causing dreams to reveal certain types of information, and then finding out the next day, you know, or asking, you know, like, okay, well, how dreams before you go to sleep, dreams tell me some information about this, and then learning to interpret the message you're given, because dreams are weird, right? Dreams are visionary, which means they must be interpreted. And we often misinterpret them. Same with medicine visions, often misinterpreted. That's why I'm writing books the way that I do. It's all about interpreting. Because we even clear messages can actually not really mean what you think they mean, right? And being able to say, okay, well, let me apply the message I received, see what happens, see where it leads me, right? And find out. I had a really weird experience many years ago, very early in my decision to be more professional with doing readings. I was getting asked for them anyway, so I'm like, maybe I'll just do that more, see what happens. Just because I was just having fun with it. I just loved it. I grew up with stuff like that. I grew up with magic, thankfully, which is great. So every now and then, if I was, you know, online messaging someone or whatever while I was doing other things, crafting or whatever, I would say, hey, you want a card? And I would pull a card. And I would ask, I said, I'm going to pull a card for you, but I want you to tell me what it means for you. And so I'm going to tell you what it means for me, and then I want you to tell me what that means for you, if that means anything, so that way I can practice. Chrissy, hi, y'all. Oh, hello, Chrissy. Love it. You would like this, too. You love to have access to more information. I know you like that. It's great too for working with people. When you can intuit their needs, you can serve better, which is a phenomenal tool for sales, by the way. Love that. So periodically I would pull a card and read a card for someone, and they would tell me, I don't know why you know that, but that's weird and kind of unsettling. Like, well, you did say yes, so why is that unsettling? Can you tell me why? And I'd start to get these affirmations. So these affirmations, Ashley, Chrissy, hey Chrissy. Oh, I love that. That's so fun. I love you guys in my community. I love it. So you start to receive the affirmation. And when you receive the affirmation from experimentation, from just asking and from finding out if what you're coming up with is working, it's true, then you can get that confidence boost, right? So I did promise, how do we read an aura? Okay. Really simple way to start understanding this type of energy work. So, you know, when you stare at something, like those old pictures with like, it looks like rows of toucans when you hold it here, but then when you like pull it away from your face, it's suddenly a dolphin jumping through a hoop, you know, very trippy, like 5D stereogram type of whatever. Really popular in like the 90s, right? So it's like that, where you look at something. You can practice on trees and plants, by the way, because it's also quite easy to read their auras if you like plants. I don't know, plant person. You can do this with animals and also humans, right? So look at anything that you believe has life, you know. Something with life with which you relate well is easier. So a familiar pet or animal that you're really into and really connect with. If you're plant people, if you're not really a plant people, probably not as much. Or other people, other humans, right? So that's always going to be easiest, but also the most complicated. So you look kind of like the center of space. Like, so you would look at me like here. But then you would stop looking here and you would simultaneously soften your gaze to sort of like fuzz out your focus and like defocus your eyes. Kind of like when you're really tired and you're kind of like zoning out and like unfocused, like that. And see if you can visualize just this part around me, for about a foot around me, and see if you can see anything in that space. Now, don't expect to see it very vibrantly. With your eyes unfocused, you might be seeing it inside your mind's eye. You might also receive information in other ways. So this is something I did not know until much later that actually limited my growth in this category, was maybe you're not going to see it in front of you. Maybe don't look there. Maybe do look there. Maybe look inside and see if you visualize anything. It may feel like imagination. If you want to grow that word up a little bit, make it sound more mature, you can call it the imaginal realms. This is a powerful space. And if you still think it sounds childish, it is because you have been taught to patronize this superpower. Do not let them take that power from you, right? So bring that back. You know, visualization is a highly powerful skill and tool. So call it back up into your own, claim it back, right? So look in that inner space and see if maybe you see information in there. Maybe see if you can sense something. Maybe it's not a color that you see or sense. Maybe it's other type of information, like a vibration. Maybe it's maybe color is easy, but maybe it's not that easy for you. Maybe other types of information is easier for you. Maybe you can sense emotional content. Maybe you can sense, like I said, a vibration, which may occur for you as information, as a sound, as a feeling, as a sense, not necessarily an emotion, a feeling, not always the same thing. And see if you can identify what's going on there. And if you do this with someone that you do know, then you will probably be influenced by what you already know about this person. But you will be able to access your connection, which is strong already. So you'll be able to, will we be able to replay this? My phone blitzed. Yes, ma'am, you will. I leave the lives all up there for replay purposes. Yes, of course. Thank you for asking. So you will be able to tap into that connection you already have with that person, which will accelerate your capacity to see it. But you all also may be seeing them through the lens of what you already know. So see if you can clear your mind and put on pause what you think you already know in order to see. But then ask if that's what's going on for them, and ask what it means to you, because seeing a yellow aura doesn't mean anything until you find out what yellow means to you. And that may not mean the same thing for everyone, right? And we say, oh, yellow means this. Sure, generally speaking, but everyone's different, right? So don't rely on the word of another to understand your intuition. Okay? That's why when I teach things like tarot, I like to teach a basic framework that helps inform the intuition. So you're not starting from like, well, I don't know, blank, whatever. But then uses just a framework to help you exercise your own intuitive capacity in a way that's free, right, and liberated, and not restricted by having to memorize shit, because it's not fun. It kind of takes all the fun out of it. I did that method, right? It's not really that fun. And since then, I forget it all, because why bother? I would rather use the tool for my own intuition purposes anyway. And most of the time I'll say, oh yeah, I'm going to do a reading with the cards, and I don't even take them out of the deck. I just do the reading, right? Because eventually you learn to just trust that voice, and you learn to get yourself into that space. So you can also get yourself into the space of trance, right? And that means getting yourself into a very heavy, very sleepy, very empty, very spacey kind of zone. Slow breathing, a mantra, prayer, practice, meditation, learning how to get into that space will help you get there faster. And when you're in that nice, warm, fuzzy, open space, boom, information can come in. If your mind is busy, you're not going to get intuitive impulses. Sorry. If your mind is cluttered, it's not intuition. It's just not. It's a busy mind, right? So let's get finally, because it's been a long talk now, I really do love this topic, and I love working one-on-one with people in this. If this is something that you really want to expand in, please let me know. It really excites me. So as promised, is it paranoia or is it premonition? How do you know? If, for me, experiment, practice, acknowledge, practice, affirm. Thank you for selecting this topic. Yes, Miss Santa Christina, of course, always. If, for me, it comes with an emotional charge, that is my own emotional, mental construct, system, framework, whatever. That's my own system. If it comes in as information without an emotional charge, that feels like intuition to me. Also, enjoying this very much. I'm so glad it's useful. I feel like I'm a little all over the place, but I'm kind of just following what flows, right? And like answering questions, which I really like. So if you have questions, throw it in there, because we're going to wrap up here soon. I could definitely go on this topic for a really long time, especially when it comes to like how to get really intuitive with plants, for example, or how to get really intuitive with animal totems, for example, or how to get really intuitive with reading auras, for example, or using cards, for example, or how to skip all that completely and just get intuitive with information, for example. All of these are different skills that we can really explore. One-on-one is great. I love that. So this is really just like super surface overview, but it's exciting, right? I think it's fun. I'm glad you're liking it. So if it comes in for me where it's complicated and there's lots of justifications, that's not intuition. That is the mind racing. So that to me is paranoia. Paranoia will come with a mental circus, right? So that is justifications because the mind seeks to justify. I'm having fear. Well, why am I having fear? You're having fear for all these 50 reasons. We've all had this conversation with someone we care about. Well, I'm upset. Why are you upset? For all of these 50 reasons. Well, really? Or are you just cranky today and everything's pissing you off, right? So the mind will create justifications for an emotional state. That's such an amazing point that I need to remind myself of when I get to that point, recognize the emotion. Right. Yes. For some people, the emotion will come with information. But for me, if it comes with emotion, that's emotion. That may not be intuition. You all, I'm still both too and succumbing, willing to respect each other. Not really understanding exactly your message. Can you clarify for me, please? Why my fate trait is to exist, as etc., since I testify to being. Please clarify for me. I would love to understand what you're saying. How do you tell the difference between intuition for the future, past life memory, or a shadow that needs attending to, especially when it comes to dreams? Girl, that's a topic for a whole other conversation, and I love it so much. That's like all of my hot button sweet spots, so that's very exciting. Well, we're definitely already over time already, so let's touch it just a little bit. You know how to get me every time. You always get me riled up. I love it. So heart messages and intuitive messages come very clearly, and they do not justify themselves. Do not get on that airplane. Why? Don't. That's intuition. Just don't. Well, I already bought a different ticket. Okay, don't get on that plane. Okay, well, your intuition is not going to sit there and like explain to you, well, because there might be a problem or the plane might be delayed and then you're going to have to change your ticket, but you're not going to be able to change your ticket because then the counter's office is going to be closed. That's the mind, right? So if you're getting lots of justifications, that's probably you, and that will be paranoia. If you're getting very short, direct, clear answers, and there is a meditation that I would love to offer you, maybe not in this talk because we're already over, that teaches you how to connect with your heart messages. And they're always very clear, they're always very short, and you may not understand them always right away, but they don't justify themselves. They don't need to. It just is what it is. There's no emotion around it, there's no complexity around it. They may be a little mysterious, but it's always going to be, it's very direct and very short. There's no justifications around it. That's the mind racing, right? So that's how I can tell the difference. If it comes like with a lot of information, a lot of like things that is not intuition, right? Intuition is usually very subtle. And I think sometimes we confuse emotion with intuition because we call it a gut feeling. But a feeling and an emotion may not be the same thing. If you stub your toe, is that an emotion or is that a feeling, right? If there's like a stirring in your gut, is it diarrhea? I don't know. Is that an emotion? Probably not. It probably causes emotions. It probably comes with emotions. It probably creates a spiral of emotions. It may have been caused by emotions, but it's not emotion itself. It's a feeling, right? So I think we think that maybe that means that there's feelings tied to it, but I have found that intuition doesn't usually come with feelings. Ooh, I need that meditation too. Yes, absolutely. I love it. It's so simple too. It's so simple. Okay. Miss Anna Christina, I am going to address this slightly because you excite me and I can't help myself. Okay. Intuition for the future, past life memory, or shadow that needs attending to, especially when it comes to dreams. Okay, with dreams, remember. Dreams are an interesting subject and worthy of their entire own subject because they must be interpreted. When we are in that deep subconscious space, time is not linear. We are accessing a bigger aspect of self, a bigger sense of self, a bigger sense of life, and that is nonlinear in time. So sometimes we may be seeing the future. Sometimes we may be seeing the past. Sometimes we may be seeing wish fulfillment. Sometimes we may be seeing fears playing out. Sometimes we may be processing something. Sometimes we may be seeing a future memory. Sometimes we may be seeing a past premonition. Like there's a lot of different like weird stuff that can go on in there. But you will tell with dreams based on how you feel in the dream. And the complex that is created by the emotion that you experience in the dream, not that you feel upon waking, but inside the dream. And how it interrelates with each of the subjects in the dreams. So something that I love to do is, have you ever taken my dream course? No, I don't think you have. I apply a Gestalt therapy method, which is dream work therapy method, very Jungian, right? Which is about interacting with each of the characters in your dream, right? And there's information that can come from all these angles. So you can go back in the dream and find out and ask questions and resolve issues and do deep healing and resolve trauma and all kinds of cool stuff you can do with dreams. I absolutely love. But as far as getting information from dreams, sometimes we see fears playing out, processing, or wish fulfillment, and we'll call that intuition because it was in a dream. Not necessarily, okay? Not necessarily. Not all dreams are premonitions. Again, you'll notice based on the emotion. For me, I know it's a premonition dream where I'm not emotionally attached to it inside the dreamscape. You know, you may have a feeling about the dream when you're awake, but I'm talking about in the dreamscape. In the dream time, how are you feeling about it at the moment? And if there's not really a whole lot of emotional attachment, or if the emotion is not coming from the information, but from the circumstance of the information, maybe so. But you'll learn to interpret the texture of the dream. But this again comes with practice. But if you think you don't have dreams, it's incorrect. It's a very rare case that you don't have dreams. It usually results from like a traumatic brain injury and things like this, right? There are other types of disorders like this, but even then dreams will recover themselves. Like we need them. You probably are just not remembering them. You can open that up very easily. Send me a message or put a comment in here and I will send you a free PDF that is 5 steps to remember your dreams quickly and easily tonight. You can do it tonight. You really don't need a lot. Past life memories, shadow to attending to. This a lot has to do with texture, right? And this is a much deeper subject. I've spent my whole life studying this, so I have much to share and give and love in this subject, and perhaps that will be a subject for a future life. Let's see. Being anybody's I don't understand that. Thanks. Let alone to myself. Please clarify. Miss Anna Christina, yes, please. Is texture in the visual? Okay, so texture can be in the visual, but there's so much more information in a dream besides the visionary element. In fact, a lot of dreams aren't even containing visuals, but we tend to ignore them more easily because we're used to things being visual, and our culture is very visually focused. Not all cultures are. Not all people are. I had really bad eyesight when I was a kid, so for me, my world was full of like smells and textures. I have to touch everything still, even though my vision's been corrected. So for me, like I find that I'm perhaps more easily able to sense the other textures of a dream, which can be, yes, the visual, but also the feeling. Also, like, does it feel surreal? Does it feel more than real, like super real? Does it feel like, do you feel like you're in your body? Do you feel like you're in the body you have now in this life? You know, all of these types of like little dimensions and details that can really give you some clues about it. Ashley, I still have 2 nightmares that I struggle with because they were so bad I don't know how to forget them. This is my specialty. Let's talk about that. So dream topics are going to have to be another theme because it is definitely it's a whole other thing. I have a 9-week Dream Vision Quest course, okay? So we're not going to do 9 weeks in the next negative 18 minutes because that's how far we've already gone over this topic. But we will address that, and we should, because that can really make a big difference about how you feel in your life moving forward, because dreams are not just a dream. Don't worry about it. It's not real. Of course it's real. It's definitely a part of your personal experience in life and a really important part of it too. And I believe that our culture is finally doing better about coming back around and acknowledging that aspect of the self. And I definitely believe that has to do with the resurgence of visionary medicines and the priority we're placing on them in mental health. So in healthcare and healing. So something the ancient world has long known is something that we're circling back around to. And but in a much more sophisticated and professional type of way. Obviously, the Jungian archetypes will always serve us, but there's a much richer and deeper way of looking at them, especially since I work with visionary medicines and also the subconscious mind in many forms, doing hypnosis and all the other things that I love to bring all of that together in order to really address that aspect of the self, because there's just so much available there and just so interesting and weird, which I love. I love that. Regarding intuition, for me, I feel like that's the simplest way to find out. Is does it have a lot of emotion attached to it? Does it have a lot of like justifications and words and like reasons attached to it? If any of the answers are yes, it's probably just you. If it doesn't really have any emotion or like reasoning behind it, it seems like kind of short and direct without any justifications, then that's your intuition, right? That could be your intuition. Yes, they plague me is the best way I can describe it. Of course they do. Of course they do, honey. We'll work on that. Let's do that. We've been kind of skirting around it, but let's dive in next time. Actually, I sent you a text today. Did you see it? Did I not see a reply? That's also possible. I've been packing for a trip. We're going to Chiloé tomorrow. I'm going to go see penguins out there in the wild. It's going to be so fun. I'm so excited. This is one of the few places in the world where two different species of penguins actually roost together, which I'm very excited. Magellan penguins and Humboldt penguins living together on the same island, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to look at that, and I'm very excited about it. I'm doing that in a couple days. Yay! So I'm going down the islands tomorrow. So for that reason, I might have missed it if you text me back. What the hell? Let's go for it. We're going to do a little heart meditation. So go ahead and close your eyes if you are safe to do so and you feel comfortable. Go ahead and close your eyes and just relax. And take a deep breath and exhale. And if you like, you can actually put your heart, your hand on your chest. Fun. Yes, super fun. Very excited. Thank you. You can actually put your hands on your chest if you want to draw your attention to that place, or you can even tap here gently or rub a little bit if it makes you feel like it draws your attention to this part of yourself, right? And see if you can just check in with that aspect. Imagine maybe your perspective going down your central channel, maybe down your spine and dropping down into that heart space. Maybe you even like to imagine what it would look like if your like eyes were at that level. Like how would the world look like from that perspective? See, however you can draw your attention to your perspective down to that aspect of yourself, down to that place. And we could do this much longer, deeper meditation. We're just gonna do it really simple right now. You can experiment with it in your own way. Do the best that you can to just get as relaxed as possible. Allow your body to get really heavy. And remember, if you will it so, your body can feel really heavy. So heavy and so relaxed. It's almost like lead. Almost like it doesn't even belong to you at all. So just exhale, and on your next exhale, just let it all go. You can even sigh and let your shoulders drop down and allow yourself to get really still and really present, and just notice that aspect of yourself. This part of yourself that would be your heart chakra, heart center. And if you like, you can ask, do you have a message for me? Or you can ask a very direct question. Avoid asking yes or no questions because we tend to question the answer. Ask something open, but not too open. Something that would be best served by a direct, short, open-ended answer. A good example is, what is a good concept, thought, or emotional resource that I should bring with me in order to ensure my travels are nice and easy tomorrow? Such a peculiar answer I received was courage. I'm not sure why I'm going to need that, but I'm going to hear that and remember that and take that with me. What's a message that this part of yourself would like to give you right now? A lot of times these messages are simple. When I ask that to myself, I receive, I love you. Well, that's very nice, isn't it? I love you too, self. It's very sweet. So these answers will be short and direct. They may seem a little mysterious or strange, but they will be complete in the way that they are. You can ask for more information. You may or may not receive it. It may not make any sense. It may unfold. I don't know why I need courage for tomorrow. Like we're just taking a little bus ride, but okay. I guess I need courage for tomorrow. Cool. I'll hear it. I'm going to receive that. I'm generally a pretty fearless person, so I don't feel like I often need courage. But maybe I do. Maybe I do. Maybe there's a difficult conversation that I'm going to be having, and I need to have courage, which for me feels like faith, right? So that feels good. Maybe that could be it. Who knows? I'm not going to think about it too much, because then that would be the mind, right, and not the intuition. So whenever you're ready, you can just open your eyes. Emma Penguin, yes. And bring yourself back into your normal perspective of being where your perspective normally is, which is usually just behind your eyes, and your head is where we normally find our attention coming from. So you can do this with different parts of your body. You can ask your solar plexus, which is the center of action, right? You can ask your root chakra for information. All of these energy centers, this is just a map, chakra system, just a map of clusters of types of information, right? So you can gain information from all of your body. In fact, you can even use this method to ask why you keep having a certain ache, like, oh, my shoulder just constantly bothering me. Okay, get really relaxed and really heavy and ask, what's the message you have for me, pain? What are you? You may be surprised what you find. It may not be muscle tension. It might be a memory that's stuck in there, right? Another method that you can always use and cultivate is muscle testing, right? If you're not familiar with how muscle testing works, that's its own practice, its own procedure, but it usually revolves around using your body kind of like a pendulum. Show me yes, show me no. Okay, ask a question. Is this for me? Is this not for me? Is this good for my body? Is this not good for my body? You're tapping into your body-mind wisdom with that type of muscle testing. So this is also something you can explore as well. A lot of different ways to do it. I use muscle testing on others when I'm doing energy work on them, just to see how their body's responding. I heard that I need to find freedom. I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing that message. Whoever else received a message, would you please type it in? Because I think when we see the types of messages others are receiving, it'll help us understand that what we're getting may not be as weird as we think it is. And that'll give us all that affirmation. So let's leverage this community and share what it is that received. Miss Emma, chill the fuck out. Well, that's violent. Yeah, that actually is right for you at this time. We've been discussing that. So, seems right, doesn't it? Miss Ashley, I love that message for you. Emma, that's perfect and fair. Right, totally fair. You're going to tell me it's not? Mm-hmm. Convince me otherwise. Prove me wrong, right? Change my mind, right? So I would love for whatever message you get to go ahead and type it in the comments, so that way we can all see that the messages we receive maybe aren't that strange. When we first start doing work like this, we may feel like, oh, that was weird. Like, I don't know if that's really what that makes it. Is that what it's like? I don't know. Well, when we start seeing these other messages from others, we can say, okay, well, maybe it's not that weird. Miss Santa Christina, I received an owl hoot when I asked my question. You have been thinking a lot about owl medicine recently. So what does owl now mean to you? Is an important question. So in your culture, an owl is a symbol of wisdom, correct? So if you receive an owl hoot when you asked, what was your question? What was the question? Was it just open, what message do you have for me? You would probably do great to ask your root some questions and see what it has to say. There's a lot of information in that part of your body. So again, that's also how we're going to interpret what does that mean to you, right? And remember, whatever pops up first is right. Do not overthink it and over question it. That's the point of asking your intuition. If you wanted to ask your mind the question, just ask your mind. You already know what the mind is having to say because you're hearing it all day long, right? If you want an intuitive answer, you have to be willing to trust what it is that comes up and understand that even if it doesn't make sense, it's not about sense. If it was about sense, then it would be mind, right? And even the mind doesn't even make sense all the time. It just demands it, right? It doesn't always make it. Let's see. I love that, Anna. Right? Isn't that great? I love that. I asked what I need stepping in this new chapter. Okay. Wisdom, maybe so. The owl also sings unabashedly. Hoo, 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 hoo. Whenever he has something to say, he says it. You know what I mean? Owl also isn't just about wisdom and magic. It's also about deception. Deception, because you never hear an owl coming. You just get got. You know what I mean? So maybe a little bit of stealth is good for you. Maybe whatever it is that you're working on or that you're thinking about, you may want to keep that, like, that's what I'm getting for you, is that you may want to keep that like a little bit close to you, that is good wisdom for you right now. rather than, I know you've been working a lot on like expressing and learning how to express better. Right now, it may be better for you to keep your deeper thoughts and desires close until those seeds sprout some roots before you start sharing them and they get ripped out, but while they're still too tender to like hold themselves fast. It might be better to maybe nurture your own thoughts a little bit first before trying to express them, and allow a little bit of stealth and just watch. I also have great big eyes and they see everything in the dark. So allow what is in the dark to become visible to you, by maybe just watching, and maybe keeping yourself a little bit more less focused on expression and more on that stealth mode, and just to see what unfolds. How does that feel for you, by the way? Miss Emma. Yeah, I think that's funny, right? Anna Christina, I heard just do it when thinking about speaking in groups. Absolutely. The heart does not fear, by the way. So if you're getting fear, that is not an intuitive message. If you're getting encouragement, that may be an intuitive message, because the heart does not do fear, right? The intuition does not do fear. All right, we are fully at an hour in a 20-minute live. I love all of these questions. This is super fun. However, I definitely think it is time to maybe depart the pattern a little bit because it's getting a very long video. So we'll come back around next week, and maybe next week we'll actually do a 20-minute live. So bring your questions. You know I love it. In the meantime, if you like this type of content, you're enjoying yourself here, please like, follow, subscribe. That's how I know that you like it. If you don't, then I don't know that this is useful. I already know what I know, so I'm sharing it for you. And if you like it, then you have to tell me. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it, right? So I don't come here for my own health. I do a little bit. I do like to challenge myself with a sudden topic because I like to share and speak. I am expanding again into doing podcast guesting and bigger stages again. I'm really excited about that. So I am purposefully challenging myself to speak spontaneously, just because I enjoy like the challenge of not being prepared. Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you for being here, sweetheart. Thank you so much, love. Miss Anna Christina, always a pleasure. So if you like this, you have to tell me, or I'm not going to keep doing it. So like, subscribe, all those things. If you're here, if you're benefiting from it, help me out and let me know. And type below if you have a topic that you're interested in. Leave a comment. Tell me what you got out of this. Let me know what was something that you learned here that was interesting for you. The comments really help the community. If you want to jump into a more active conversation, the WhatsApp group is growing. The Facebook group is always there. The Messenger chat sometimes is going, sometimes it's not. But maybe it's time for you to hop in and finally join a community that is also focused on love and growth and all things that help us be better people, and magic and mystery and all the fun that life has to offer as we grow into having the most joyful version of our life ever. So let me know. You have to just put it in the comments. I love to go back and respond to them. Thank you so much for all who are here with me. And for those of you who are on the replay, thank you. I love you. The reason the replay is up is just for you. So leave some comments and let me know what's going on, what you got out of this, if you found something surprising or interesting, if you found something really obvious and dumb. Like, let me know what happened for you. If nothing happened for you, if this isn't moving for you, if you like something else, please just, you got to let me know. Otherwise, I don't know, right? And hop in and make this community alive. You may be surprised how beneficial it is to hear from others who are also on your path. Community is really powerful. And I think we all learned this most recent plague how important it is to be together. So let's use these spaces for what they're for. I will be opening up some class sections soon. Books will be getting published soon as well, finally. So if you are interested, I'm gonna pause doing the longer protracted courses, and I'm gonna be doing some mini courses. So I am gonna start with the Fast Framework Tarot because it's just so fun, simple, and easy. Mini course, and if you, I know I've been saying I'm gonna do it for like 2 years now, at least. But we're really doing it for real this time. So if there's another topic that you like, leave me a note and I will make it for you. And if it is your topic that we end up choosing for the mini course, I will give you a discount on it. So let me know what you like, just to encourage that creative juices flowing. And if you found something in here useful, please share. Just share, right? That helps me know that you found it useful. Because if it's not useful, what is the point? I'm not going to do it. But if it is useful, you got to let me know so I can know. We'll be back here, same bat time, same bat channel, Tuesday, which I guess Tuesday live, now that we're doing yoga on Tuesday night, is actually going to be Wednesday for a little while. So now it's going to be Wednesday lives. Happy Hump Day, everyone. And I look forward to seeing you next week for Cats Chats, where we talk about whatever you want. See you soon.